Hello, I'm just getting set up here, so just be a moment. I want to make sure I'm in the right group, that everything's working, you guys can hear me. Let me just double check things here, and of course my computer decides to freeze at this moment. Come on, computer. Sorry guys, just a moment. Okay. Come on, computer. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a happy Thanksgiving. Sorry, it's just going to take my computer a moment here. I might just exit out of Facebook and go back in. That might help me out. We had Thanksgiving yesterday with my family, so that's why I was able to do this today. And today's a day I'm not working, so that helps. I see I'm live. I'm in the right group. Yep. I'm just going to turn my sound on for a second on my laptop, just to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Yeah. Okay. Mute. Hi, Kim. I'm glad you're so excited to see this. I hope I'll be able to explain it properly. It's actually not that hard of a card. It just seems complicated. So I will mention, and I'll mention it a few times, I'm not going to do this part on the card, all the pine branches, but I'll show you what I used to make that. It's a lot of work, and it took a lot of time, so I don't want to be here all night with everybody. Especially, I had to get ready for work and all that fun stuff. But we'll do a basic version of this, and then you can always add on your decorations as needed. You could use snowflakes instead of pines. The reason I did that for my original design was I wanted it to look like it was swinging off of a branch. Okay. The other thing we'll be doing differently is I did lines on this card, and the reason why was I watercolored this image, and I was having a hard time seeing the image underneath my watercoloring, so I ended up doing lines. We may do that, just kind of depends, but I'm going to try and color this as a no-line watercoloring, or sorry, not watercoloring, Copic no lines. And the other thing I may or may not do is I did add glossy sparkles. You can't even really see it in the video. Maybe if I tilt it a little bit through the stencil. And I can show you what I used, but I think I'll just to make it not seem like it's going to take so long, I'll probably avoid doing that tonight too. But I'll show you what I used. I did have a list posted in the group just saying exactly what I used today, so that hopefully you guys can follow along, but feel free to ask questions. It's actually not that hard of a card once you get started, so, and if you're catching the replay, obviously tag me and just say replay, so I know it's a new question. This is called a swinging tent card, and the reason why it's called that is it's kind of hard when it's on its back, but this piece in the middle swings as you hold the card. Of course, mine's decided to not do that right this second. It was swinging really good earlier. There we go. I think it was just stuck. Anyway, it's kind of hard to show while it's on its side, but it does swing quite regularly. I might just have to move my brad a little bit. On the side, you'll see that the card is closed. So what I do is I just add a white piece of paper to the back of the card, and that's where you can put your message. You'd always add a second, like a third piece over top of this if you wanted to make the message more private. But this card doesn't actually open, just as a heads up too. It also doesn't swing on its own. I know in the video it might have looked like that, but just got to see why it's doing this right now. What is it sticking on? Well, when it's up on its side, up on the top, it swings. It's one of those hard ones to show. Anyway, it'll make more sense once I explain how you do the mechanism. Yeah, the monkey one swings great. I think you just need to kind of play with it a little bit, and then it swings. The monkey one did open, but I actually learned that you're not supposed to let the card open up. So, which is good because you don't really need to open it up once it's on that. So I'm going to start with our background, and if you didn't see the list of dimensions, I do have it here, and I'm just going to pull out what I prepped already for this live, and if anyone needs me to slow down because they're playing on, just let me know, but I know most people like to watch first. Our card base, this is 5.5 by 5.5. You could do smaller, could do bigger, but I went with 5.5 by 5.5 because it just fits our image nicely. We will also have, for the inside of our card, a little piece of pattern paper. You could just design your own, but just this is how I pulled my color scheme out. So this will go on the inside, which we can add right now. And we just add it just like we would if it was on the outside. And this just gives us a backing. I'm just gluing that in. And this, sorry, is 5.25 by 5.25. I don't know if I said that. So this fits in here. And it's just giving some extra interest into our card. You could always leave it just with the navy blue too if you wanted. Then we need our base for the front, which is our white piece. So this one will go on the front, and I'm just going to decorate it first, and then we'll punch the hole in it. And then I have another one for the back of the card, like I said, just so that you can write your message. So let's add that quickly. So I'm not going to decorate those. Oh yeah, this paper, unfortunately, it's from England. It's from, actually, Scotland. My cousin brought it over from Scotland. They have like a lot of crafty stores where have stuff we don't have here. But you could always use, like, I was going to take Echo Park paper and use it. It's got similar colors. But I liked that it matches the, sorry, brain, Lovely Lagoon. So this is just my back side of my card, just so that, like I said, you can write a message back there. I'm going to decorate this piece, and then we'll cut the hole in the middle. You could cut it first and then come back, but I'm just going to quickly decorate this with our stencil. You can always use any stencils you want. The new ornament stencil would work really well for this background too. But since it was a star themed image, I'm pulling in my stencil with my stars. And this is the Starburst. No. Oh, I had the wrong name on the back. I have it in the instructions of what stencil now it is. Sorry, I should have the name of that in front of me. If you go to the store, it's Star or Starburst Star Stencil, some sort of name. Sorry, my bad. I should have had the name for that. As you can see, I didn't even clean my stencil. That's why I'm going to do the card part first, and then I'll color the image after. That way, if anyone just wants to see how the card's made, they can do that, and if they don't want to watch me color, they don't have to. I am pulling in Magical Midnight, which is on sale this month, so that's why I pulled that one in. A Lovely Lagoon, and Aqua Adventure. And I know this wasn't on the list, but I think I'm going to add Tranquil Teal in, just because I like having 3 to 4. Starburst. I knew it was Starburst. I was right. I just, sorry, I didn't explain. This piece of white paper is Bristol Smooth, and I just cut it to 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. And I just put my stencil over it. You can use any paper. I just use this one because it blends nicely, I find. I'm going to take our Magical Midnight first. And these are just daubers that I bought on Amazon. And I'm just basically picking some stars. It's okay if I go to a few that are the same. Just going to quickly add this in so we have a decorated background. I like these daubers because it makes it fast. You can always use your Tim Holtz ones too if you want. Not really worried about the middle so much because we're going to cut it out anyway, but just in case you're worried you might miss a star, you can always go in after and do that. And this will even out as it dries, so I find that it gets darker as it dries too a little bit. I'm just going to do this quickly so we can get on to making the card. So I'm taking Lovely Lagoon. And mine's really inked up because I just re-inked my Lovely Lagoon, so it's quite concentrated. Like I said, you could always go to each individual star and go, okay, I want this one Lovely Lagoon and this one this color. I'm not worried about it tonight. I'm just kind of dabbing in different areas. to make this quicker for us. I'm also okay if the colors mix a little bit because I'm going kind of for almost an ombre look. Not ombre, sorry, monochromatic was the word I'm looking for. So I'm okay if some of it mixes. Okay. I'm gonna add my Aqua Adventure. And I'm just matching the inks to my pattern paper. So if you have a different pattern paper color scheme you want to use, that's fine too. And I'll watch it. Most of you are probably just watching tonight, so. Actually making the card, like I said, it seems like it might be complicated, but it's not. Put this one up here. It'll be a pretty heavy, lovely lagoon color scheme, but that's okay. And then just popping in my Tranquil Teal, and I'm just going to fill in the blanks. I'm going to use the stopper. So that might have been what I used on my combo. Sorry, I know I'm kind of speeding along, but I think this part we all know how to do this. But I like that the stars match the stars of our image. You can always use pattern paper if you want instead, but I like making my own patterns for the most part. That's kind of why it's kind of nice we have stencils, so I can make them any color I want. Our inks work so well for this too. Make nice bold imprints on here. Okay. Now the one thing I did with my card for my sample, and I'm not going to do it tonight just because it takes some time to dry, but if you want to, you can, is using the Texture Paste Sparkle from Tim Holtz. It's translucent with these little flecks of gold in it. So the nice thing is I'm going to color our star once we get the image with some gold. But for tonight, I'm just going to not do that. But if you wanted to, you can. It just, like I said, it does take some time to dry. Pull that off. Put that stencil away because it's got a lot of ink on it and I don't want to get ink on everything. Okay, and this was just my gel plate. I use it to hold the paper on. Actually, since I had that out, you could just cut a ring out of cardstock, but I made mine, or sorry, out of the same, like the navy color that I have. I decided I wanted to just ink it up with our inks to match. And I'm just going to dab this on. Like I said, it'll even out a little bit as it dries. And that way it matches everything. I actually I'll pop back the card for a second to show you what I used also to decorate my card. We're not doing it tonight, but it's very quick to do, is to colorize my die cuts too with our ink. So I like how dark this is, but I could get it a little darker. So I'm going to actually bring in my lovely lagoon too, since there's a lot of ink in this one. And it's going to be a little bit more on the green side. But you can mix these two colors together and get quite a nice teal. Like a dark, dark teal. You could always leave some places blue, some places green. But let's make for a very nice dark teal ring. And we'll just put that to the side to dry too. Okay, I can put these away. I am just going to show you the dies I used on my card that we're not using tonight. So I went with this Tim Holtz Thinlits die, and I cut out all my pine branches out of that. So if you have something like that at home, you can cut them out of white cardstock, or you could cut out colored cardstock to save you some time. But what I did was I cut mine out of colored cardstock. I'm just going to pretend this is white. And I popped it onto my gel plate, and then I dabbed it with the Lovely Lagoon, or the Aqua Adventure, I think, on this one. And then I just spritz it with some glitter. And that's how I made my little pine branches too. But everything coordinates because they're all from the same ink line, which is nice. Alright, pulling my gel plate away. Moving that out of the way. Going back to here. Just gotta mention that this is cut. This is going to be the bottom of our card. So this is cut for 3 inches this way by 5.5 this way. We're going to score it in a second here and then add it to our bottom of our card, but we do need to cut out our window first for our card. I have a white piece of scrap, and this is cut, it's all on the side here if you can read it. This is 0.5 inches this way by 2 inches this way. No one's going to see this, so it doesn't matter what color you make that in. I chose white because I have a lot of white scraps. And then I have a piece of transparency. You do want something transparent. You can use white paper, but I find that this just moves better. And we'll make our swing mechanism with this. So this is what actually, we'll make a little hinge and it'll swing. So I'm going to show you guys a few times how to do that because that's going to be the, the most complicated part of the card. And lining up our panels here. So now we are not going to glue this together yet, but we do need to add our smallest circle. So with my ring, I just made 2 dies that I had, 2 circle dies. I want to use my smallest circle now. Plan out where I want the middle of the card. And sorry, I should have maybe done this beforehand, but this is how I would normally do it. And grab a little bit of washi. And just, sorry, my sizes are all down here. I did say 3-inch circle, and that would work. I thought mine was a 3-inch circle on the last card, but it actually is bigger than I thought. So this is, smaller ring is 3.75 for the inside, and then 4 1/4 on the outside. As long as you can see your image all the way, it doesn't really matter what size you use. I think circles work best for this, just because you can see the inside better. People have used squares before and rectangles. I'm just sticking that down to the inside part, because this part I'm going to cut out. I'll be right back. I'm just going to cut this out with my machine, and I'll show you how to line up for the other side. Thank you, Debbie. I didn't see your message, or see your comment till now. That cut out my circle. You can keep this to decorate something if you want. Maybe decorate the back of the card with a little spot for this, if you wanted to. Or keep it for another project. We will glue the ring to the outside here. I can do that right now. Actually, before I do that, sorry if I'm rushing. It's a lot to go over, so I just want to make sure that I'm not taking too long for you guys. How I lined up my circle to make sure it matched was I kind of eyeballed it. Took my smallest circle. Is that going to work that way? Put my little piece of tape down and then slid this out of place. Best you can. And it's okay, you can, okay, that didn't work. All right. Sorry, I thought that would work. All right, so instead I will just line this on top until I don't see my ring in the background here. There's probably easier ways to do this, but this is where I struggle sometimes. Now I'm just going to hold down my tape, move my background out of place. It might shift it a little bit, but you can fudge it a little bit. It's fine. And where we're going to cut a circle into here, but make sure you're not cutting into your background at all. So we're not cutting into this piece. We just want the front flap cut. So I'm just going to go quickly run that through my machine. And yes, you could have done it before you stuck everything down too. I know we're doing that off camera, but I mean, I think we're all know how to cut circles with die cuts. So if anyone needs me to show them, I can. But the biggest thing is trying to line it up a little bit so that it's similar for this size. And even if you're slightly off, this ring will hide a little bit of it, so it's okay. I also, like I always say, we're not Hallmark, so if it's off just a little bit, it's fine. You can hide the imperfections, or we can say, you know what, it's a handmade card. As long as it works, that's the most important part. So I'm just adding glue to the base panel that I just used the stencil on. Line it over the hole. And I'm just adding, trying to line it up nicely and straight. Not too bad, actually. I say so myself. Oh, except up here. Okay. Just like that. And I'm going to add my ring, and that will just hide that edge a little bit too. Also just makes kind of a decorative piece since we're not adding the pine. All this should be pretty familiar. It's the inside part that's a little bit different, so I'll go over that a little slower. Okay, move my glue out of the way. I'm going to bring in my trimmer. I use that to score. I do have a scoreboard, but I don't know. I just find it easier for me to score with my trimmer. And I think I'm going to go buy one of those Stampin' Up! Trimmers that have the scoring and the cutting tool in it. I don't know. Does anyone have one of those? Do they like it? I think it might help me out because I do use my trimmer for a lot of scoring. I'm going to move my trimmer up so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so now we're going to take our 5.5 by 3 inch panel, and I'm just going to pull in my second pair of instructions here. We are going to score, actually maybe I won't put that there, I'll just write it down for you guys. So 3 by 5.5 inch panel, score at 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2.5 inches. And we're going to score this way. So I start at my 1/2 inch here, line it up with my trimmer. Is that 1/2 inch? Nope. Taking my bone folder and just scoring that. I'm going to move to 1.5 inches. Score. And 2.5 inches. my trimmer out of the way for a second. Now we are going to fold this. We want this edge folded up. So it's like that. Same with this side. And you can use your bone folder to really crease it. And then our middle piece, we're going to fold this way. So it's going to look like this. So a W. Does that make sense for everybody? Wasn't very straightforward, but that's okay. And what this is going to do is we're going to put this on the inside of our card so that it tents out. I'm not going to do it yet, but it's going to go right here, and it'll help keep it looking like a tent instead of folding flat. But you can fold it flat because of the accordion in here. It will lay flat enough that you can mail it if you want. But that'll go down there. I'm not going to glue it yet. And what we'll do is we'll glue the bottom piece and the top piece. All right, we're going to make our swinging mechanism now. And then I'm going to have to hop over and probably color my image before I get too far. I'm going to score this too a little bit better. To make our mechanism, we need to make this into a basically almost the same fold we just did. We're going to score it at half. Sorry, not half. Where's my score parts? 1 1/4 and 1 3/4. So I'm going to pull in my trimmer again. Oh, make sure I pull it up so you guys can see what I'm doing. So this one, I'll write it down on the sheet in a second here. So if you want to wait a moment to see what I'm doing, you can. We're going to score it at 1/4. So that's my 1, that's my 3/4, that's my half, this is my 1/4. It's a pretty tiny fold, so you may want to get a scoreboard for this. And then we are going to score it at 1 3/4. I must have missed something here. Oh, sorry, and a 1 inch. My apologies. So 1/4, 1 inch, 1 3/4. And then we are going to fold, fold, and then fold. So we're making almost a, if it makes it easier to remember, a T. Put it on the side so you can kind of see, and I'll hold it up a little bit. So you see how this side and this side are equal, and you have a T. Now we need to hole punch a hole into our T. That's big enough to fit a brad. So I'm just going to pull in my crocodile. Like that, it works. And it doesn't have to be a big enough hole. It just has to be big enough that the brad will go in. So how did I do this one? This is a little different. I don't think I've done this on camera, but you know, you're just going to line it up, try and get it straight. I might have to look at it while I'm doing it. And you're just punching a hole before you punch the hole. Not in our T, not in this part, but down here. And have enough space that it's not falling off. So I'll show you in a second. I'm just going to do it, and then I think it'll make more sense. So you can see that. So my camera is delayed compared to what I have here. Let's hold it up higher. Sorry, I could zoom in a little bit, but then I have to zoom out again. So this is going to be our hole for the brad. Both of these sides are I'm going to show you where we're going to glue it. We're going to open up our card. And we're going to add glue. So this is going to sit right here on opposite sides, so it'll sit here and here. And you want your T to basically be in the middle of the two sides, so where the crease is. I hope that makes sense. I'm just adding glue to the back side here. Holding it together again. I'm going to try and get that in the middle. I didn't actually look this time, which is bad because then I'd be off center. But if you want, you can kind of make a middle mark where the exact middle of your card is. I'm not very precise. I never have been for things. Sorry, everybody. And we're going to just let that dry for a few minutes, but once it closes, it'll leave a spot that will be a hinge, basically, for the mechanism. I used a die for my acetate that has a rounded edge on it. If you don't have something like this, yeah, I'm kind of being a fly-at-the-seat kind of girl today, too. Other than having all the instructions in front of me so I don't forget everything. You want to have a rounded edge for the top piece. I just find it swings better then. But if you don't have something like that, you can always just cut a curve on the top of like a piece of acetate, square acetate. We're going to need to punch a hole in this too. I like my crocodile. And I just punch it on one side. And by the way, you're not going to need this length either. But just since I use a die, it's just easier. And I'll pull in my base again. Grab a brad. It's been a while since I've used a brad. This is about the only time I do. And I'm going to put it in the hole. Backwards, sorry. You want a big enough brad that it gives you a little bit of room. Too small of a brad might be hard to do this. It's kind of hard to see because it's acetate, but I'm just lining it up together. And when you're going to take this part and fold it down, I'm going to actually grab like a pen or a pencil or maybe a pick tool. You want to leave a little bit of a gap between this. If it's too tight, I think that's why my other one's not spinning so well. If it's too tight, it doesn't swing as nicely. So by adding the little bit of pencil, again, nobody sees this part on the inside, so if you do like me and you're writing on it, it's fine. It's probably an easier way to do that, but it's just giving a bit of a gap, like a little bit of a buffer room, so this will move better. I hope that makes sense. I know you can't really see this piece right now, but this is where we're going to attach our image to. So for now, I'm just going to leave this the way it is. I'm going to just quickly color our image, and then you just glue this to the acetate. And then, just in case anybody needs to leave early tonight, you're going to glue this down after you glue your image down. So you're going to glue that side, you're going to glue this side. Oops, other way around. I know I'm explaining this kind of fast, so if anybody needs me to re-explain something, please let me know. Like I said, I have to kind of do the image before I glue this down so that I can play with this a little bit. And it's really hard to see when it's on its side, but once it opens up, this acetate will swing back and forth. It's really hard to show you with the card base being closed. So it'll be closed. Make more sense once I color the image, but now add the image to this and then it'll swing back and forth for us. Okay, I'm just going to quickly color our image and then I'll add it to there. You can always do a die cut if you want. I wanted to show you some quick other stamp sets that might work well for this technique. If you don't have the swinging elf, I think the bees would work really well in I Believe You, I Believe in You. Especially this one, it could be like swinging and going, uh-oh, he's tilting the flowers into the pot. Obviously I did the monkey. This is the monkey I used. This one would work too, I think. But this one just swings really good because it's so long. And then I thought you could even do one of the owls or birds flying in this set and see some tweens. So it doesn't have to be Christmas. I just chose this because this is our stamp of the month, and it's Swinging Elves. It might also be known as, what was the other name we gave it? She changed the name afterwards because of my card. What was this? I think it was Sweet Elves or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pull out my sticky mat that I use for my images. I need to apologize. I usually put a new mat on it so that you guys don't see the grossness that it is, but my bus took a little longer than expected to get home after my movie, so it's kind of an ugly mat. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I'm just popping this in. I am going to zoom in. Again, sorry for the state of this mat. I know I said in the instructions I was going to stamp this in, I think, Pretty in Pink. I changed my mind and I stamped it in Totally Taupe, just because I wanted a more of a neutral color. I do like Pretty in Pink for the fact that when I'm coloring skin, I like how it looks. But in this case, I just went with Totally Taupe because it works for everything. Also, our star is going to be kind of a gold color, so I thought that would work well. Alright, I'm going to try and zoom in and angle my camera a little bit so you guys can see my coloring. For those who want to see me color no lines. Okay. And I know, again, this mat looks kind of ugly. It's just a piece of white paper with removable tape on it to hold down the image. I hate trying to hold the image and get my fingers in there while I'm trying to color. So I'm going to pull in the markers that I posted. And as usual, I'm just going to start with the skin. One thing I've been trying to figure out how to explain my no lines technique a little bit better. I'm watching Michelle's video this afternoon. She did no lines with the pumpkins. And I liked how she explained some of the things. We're almost making shapes. So instead of coloring with the black line, you have a little bit of, what's the word? You're just following the inside of the shape, but the black line is the same when we're doing no lines. I like to basically make my shape. So the face, this is really small, so we can't get too detailed in here. But I'm just going to follow the outline of the shape. I'm going to say my light source is coming where my pen lid is. And I'm just coloring all of her skin in for this color. If it's a bigger image, I might go a little bit more detailed with the face, but because this is so small, I'm just going to do it quickly. So that was my E00. I just kind of flood the shape first, and then I take my E04, which is my darkest, and I kind of plan out where my shadows are. So because my light source is coming over here, I know it's going to be darker over here. And under the hair. And a little bit on the face over here. A little bit in the ear. Again, because this image is so small compared to some of the other ones we do, I don't usually go too much detail in this. I don't even pull in all the colors that I normally do for skin tone. It's because we don't have as much room. I'm going to pull in my E11. I'm just going to go over exactly where I colored. Because the face is a sphere, I'm going to try and do it more dark on this side and less dark on this side to show my shading. But I still, like a face still would be shading on both sides. I just have more on the one side versus the other. Then I'm going to go back with my E00, and blend that out. See my marker? Down a bit. And I don't care if I'm going over the eyes and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get my face shape first. And my E04 is not blending out very nicely, so I might have to go back in with my E11 and add a bit more. I think that'd probably be a good idea. So instead of jumping back to E04, I'm just going to go to E11 and add a bit more. Just to do in a little bit more colors than this, but I should get some in her ears. Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you, Kim, for reminding me. I use Nina 110 to 130 cardstock at both sizes. I like that it blends nicely, that I can add lots of layers. I tend to add a lot of layers to my art. Sometimes I'll do even 3. When I'm doing a video, I sometimes only do 2 or 1, just because I probably shouldn't. I probably should do what I normally do, but I find that I'm slow at coloring, so I try to speed myself along a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I add my details into the face after, once it's dried. I'll come down to him and do him. So again, E00. You can always do these 2 elves in different skin tone colors too. Don't have to be matchy-matchy, but for sake of time, I went with matchy-matchy. I did watercolor this with my sample card, but that does take me quite a few hours. I'm too slow for that, to teach a class and try and do like the techniques that we're doing and try and teach you how I'm coloring. It's and I'm not as good of a watercolorist as Melanie. I'm a little rusty right now. I haven't done it in a while. Same thing, my lid's coming this way, so I'm going to add more shading this side of his face. And into his ears a little bit. You can always do a tiny little bit under his chin there. It's always hard also to look at what I'm doing on the computer because it looks so washed out on the computer for some reason. And then I watch the video back on my phone and go, it wasn't that bad. So I don't know if it's just my lighting down here. But I just went around the whole face there. Up into the ears again. And then go back to my E00. And blend that out. And the reason I do no lines, I'll secretly tell you, is that if I get out of the lines, I can kind of fake it a little bit more than you can with when you have a black line, I find. So to add detail back into her face, you could take a gel pen, and if you're not good with little lines, you definitely can use a gel pen. I tend to take whatever my darkest skin tone is, and I just go into where Sabrina drew the eyes. I'm just going to add the eyes in. You can always do them in a different color if you want. Go over her nose. And then her little mouth here, I'll just do a little face. She's got some freckles. And then I always draw in the eyebrows, but I'm going to see what color I'm going to do her hair first. She looks a little weird with her eyes colored like that, but once you add the gel pen in with the white gel pen, I find it looks better. So maybe I'll do that now just so you can see. Oh, I forgot to add blush. Okay, that's okay. So we're just going to add the eye color in, just make her have like little spotlights in her eyes. And since I didn't do blush on her, I won't do blush on him then. Coming back down with E04 with him as well, coloring his eyes, his little round nose, his smile, add his little freckles, and then add the white gel pen to his eyes. Add a little bit in his mouth if you want. I'm actually going to add some to hers too. And I'm going to just do her hair quickly. It's going to be hard to show you guys, unfortunately. I'll try my best here. So for her hair, I think I'm just going to go really light. And I'm just going to do E21, E23, and E25. And she's got these cute little braids in her hair. So normally I would just start with my lightest, but because it's so small, I'm just going to add in my E25, which is my darkest first. So around her crown up here, there's going to be a little cast shadow. Come around the side of her hair. Just adding little streaks in where I can. And I'm going to use this for my eyebrows too, and I always add eyebrows to my characters. Just one of my preferences, doesn't mean you have to. Then I take my second darkest color, which is E23. Going to blend that out a little bit. But making sure I'm leaving a little bit of room for the lightest color for my highlight, which is E21. It's really hard to see, but that added just enough hair difference between the hair and the face. I'm going to now come in with my E25 and do the same thing. She's got little elastic bands in her hair, so I'm just going to draw a little bit of a shadow where those elastic bands are and just draw little streaks coming up from them and down from them. And I want to make sure that I'm kind of going side by side too. Sorry, I know it's kind of hard to see, but and again from the elastic bands up and down. And there should be some coming from her face because that'd be where her shadow should be a little bit there too. And like I said, this might be a little bit hard if you're not used to fine lines. So if you want to make them black outlined first, that's perfectly okay. You don't have to go no lines. I just know people like seeing me do it. It's a little harder, like I said, on the smaller images, but I still try. And like I said, worst case, if it looks silly and I feel like I've just lost some of my stamped lines, you can always go in with a gel pen afterwards and add them in too, which is what I did on my watercolor piece. So I found like I was losing the shapes a little bit. And for his hair, I'm going to go a little darker. So I'm going to take out the 21. I'm going to start with E29, which is my darkest. Just so they don't have the same hair color. You can always do them in the same hair color though. And I'm sorry, I'm going to spin this over a little bit because I do find it easier to color the hair. I'm just going to put my cap there so you guys can see. Angle this again. I find it easier to go from the hairline up. And I'm just following Sabrina's lines that she put in there. And then I'm going to go to my E25. Following the lines I made. Making sure I leave some room for the E21, or sorry, E23 I mean. And his hair should be a little messy, I find, because he is hanging upside down. So you wouldn't have nice, straight, even hair. And I'm just going to come over everything I just did and just add my E23 in. he needs his eyebrows. We'll just do E23 since I have it out. I just make little C's. Okay, sorry to make you dizzy, but I'm going to go like this again. Because I have these markers out, I'm going to do their little shoe, her little shoes in the same color. So just starting with my E29, push this up a little bit here. You guys see what I'm, oh, I can't see the marker now. Yep. Okay. And because my light source is coming from this direction, I'm just adding my darkest tones to the bottom of the shoe and around, and then she's left a little C mark in her shoes. So kind of like this. I'll just move my hand so you can see what I've done. Sorry, I know this part's the long part. So, I want to come back and, well, I don't know how long it'll take me, but hopefully it won't take too much longer. And it's also the fun part for me because I really like coloring. So, that was E25. This is E23. I'm just going to come to the right side of my lines and add that in. There's her little shoes. All right. So to match my color scheme, I chose some blue greens for their clothes and some B99, B97 for just like the navy to match the Magical Midnight. So what I do just to kind of make sure that you can see kind of the light and the dark is I'm going to start with my BGs first and leave some spaces around them to put in my darkest colors. So for her little outfit, oh, thank you, Natalie. I appreciate that. I know I'm kind of speeding along here, so one of these days I just need to do a color along with nothing, not making a project, but so that I can kind of just do slow coloring for you guys to see what I'm doing better too. Add it to the list. So I'm just taking my lightest, which is my BG53, kind of mapping out where I want this color to be. So her hat, and I think I'll make her little outfit this color too. And what I'm doing is just leaving a little space where my lightest color is going to go after. But this is just mapping out the color that I want to use for the project first. So I'm just using this to figure out where my darkest is going to go. Should be a little bit of color underneath her collar here, and we'll make that collar a little darker. I know, it's just my head space. No, not to rush, so I'll try and slow myself down. Alright, then I'm going to go with my darkest of my blue greens, which is BG09. Again, my light source is coming from the right, so I'm going to make the left side darker. I'm making sure I get around all these little things on her crown of her cap. I'm going to add a lot more on the right, or sorry, the left side than the right side. I'll leave my space for my highlight in the middle there. Her arms, I'm going to add this right down the side, both sides, closest to the body. Then around her legs would be dark, and coming up to the left again. And then under her collar. Kind of see what I'm doing. Maybe angle it a little bit more for you too. So that was my darkest. Then I'm going to go to BG57, which is my midtone. And I'm just going to color over what I just did and just add a little bit more of this. I want to make sure there's a lot of room for the BG53 because that's going to add a lot of highlight to my outfit. Make sure it's not just one little blob. The BG57 and the BG09 are pretty similar in color. So you could always choose a different combo if you wanted. BG53 again, and I'm just going over my highlight. here. And over all the dress that's left white there. And on the side. Now that I've done that, I can take my B99 and B97 and plan where I want to color that. So definitely this crown here, I'm going to make it darker on the bottom of the crown. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of a line coming up the left side. So I just planned that with the B97. Now I'm just going to go over what I just did with the B99. Go back to my B97. And I'm going to try and leave a little bit of a highlight there still. But I'm just adding more to the left side. I guess the right side of the B99. And if you don't, like I know it's very small, so if you accidentally went into your highlight, you can always add white back in after. But now I'm going to take my BG53, just add a little bit of a highlight back in, and I'm just going to add that to each of the crown pieces. Now, looking at that, I definitely need to add more BG09 up here. And it's kind of, unfortunately, one of those things when you're coloring. Sometimes you'll color something and be like, oops, I need a little bit more above where I did my lightest here. So I'm not going where the crown piece is, but going up behind it. Just add a bit more darkness so that the highlights show up a little bit better. I might even skip BG57 and just go straight to BG53 and color in my highlight here. Markers also, unfortunately, I didn't plan that these ones need a bit more of a refill in them. That's okay. I think it's cute still. But because I went a little darker up there, I'm going to add a little bit of a second layer on underneath here quickly. So going back with my BG09, adding a bit more darkness in where I think I need it. So around her leg, more on the left side of her body than her right side. Around the leg on this side too. Her arm. Oh, I realized my thing's not tilted enough. And same thing like I did on the crown there, I'm just going to take my BG53. Instead of going to my mid-tone, I'm just going to try and do it with just this. So that I maintain my highlight still. Now for her little leggings, I'm going to start with my B99. And I'm going to make sure that it's not touching, like that my B99 is on top of her knees here. And I'm just going to draw in my lines. And then I'm going to skip a one and go down one. And I'm just doing C shapes, if that makes sense. Okay. Because I want to make sure my contrast between the teal and the navy are still showing. And same thing like I did with the crown. I'm going to come back with my B97, extend my shapes out where I just did my B99. But leave a little gap so I can add a little highlight with my B53. If that looks silly to you, you can always just color the whole thing in. So it's adding a bit of contrast. Now the ones in between, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in E23 and E21, make them look a little beige. Hopefully this doesn't look like skin. I want it to look like more like a shadow. That was my E21, sorry. I'm not leaving my cap there. My E23. But mostly it's going to be E21. For little gloves, I'm just going to color with B99 because they're so small. I'm not even going to add shading. I'm just going to, there's only one too, so I'm just going to just color it all in with my B99. And you can always just add a little thumb if you can. I just made it a circle, and again, underneath her neck here, I'm going to add a little bit of this too. And then I'm just going to bring in my B97 again. Okay, and that's her colored up. And I just have to color his quickly. I think I'll do his outfit in the navy to start with. So just taking my B97. And like I said, just like I do with the BG53, I'm kind of just plotting out my color scheme here. So because he's hanging this way, we know this side of his body is going to be darker than this side of his body. But we still need to add a little bit of a shape. So I'm just extending my lines further on the left side than I am on the right side. He does have little mittens on, so I'm just going to come underneath the mitten a little bit on both sides. And then underneath the collar again. And above the collar there, sorry. Not above the collar, but beside the collar. Then I'm going to take my B99, just do the exact same thing. Because B99 and B97 are so close together, I'll do like I did for her top of her hat here. I'll just extend this most of the way and keep a little bit of a highlight in his outfit. And you know what? I'm just going to color the whole thing in. Saves us some time here. You could always pull in B91 there if you wanted some difference between the two colors, but it's okay. He just has a dark navy top. And for his little stockings, I'm going to just do those in the teal. So we'll start with this one since this one is underneath his navy. I want to make sure those don't compete with each other. His little gloves too, I'll do in this color. And take my BG57. And I'm just coming around the left side. Coming around the left side and underneath. His little thumb, I'm going to make sure that I have some contrast between the thumb piece and the glove piece. Just going to make sure I'm outlining the glove and coming up. Sorry, I know it's very small there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to speed it along so we can get to the last parts of the card here. So I'm just taking my BG09, extending that out. No, I did it kind of backwards from what I was explaining earlier. I may even just leave his collar white there. Well, no, maybe I'll just do BG53. I'm sorry, this BG53 again. I'm just going to color this collar all one color because it's so small here. Same with his little sleeves underneath his glove. Okay. And then I'm just going to do B99 and for his middle part of his stocking. And 97 again. So, did everyone have turkey for Thanksgiving? Or did you have ham? Or if you're vegetarian, did you have, I don't know, soy turkey? We had turkey yesterday and I wish I had more. I was like, I didn't have enough turkey yesterday because I got too full. Alright, so he's colored up, she's colored up. We just have to do the star, and then I'm just going to add some gold paint on top of it just to add some shimmer. And we'll get to building the last bits of our card. So taking my Y26, I find that a very close color to gold. I'm just going to color the whole star in. I'm not worried about shading at the moment. Just want to make sure that I have some gold on my card. You could take Y28 and add some shading if you wanted to. But once I add the the gold metallic paint over it, it'll lose some of the shading anyway. Rather, my characters have the shading anyway, so they got shading. The star doesn't necessarily need it. I might add a little bit after I add the watercolor with a gel pen. But otherwise, I'm just going to color the whole thing in. I'm also going to color that in, I think I'll do brown. So I'm going to color the top of the star in E23. Add a little bit more of that brown in. And now, because this is no lines, and if you're uncomfortable, lots of turkey, yeah. We also had lots of dessert. It's also my cousin's birthday yesterday, so I think we had cakes, we had pies, we had strawberry rhubarb pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie, of course. I don't eat pumpkin pie, but we had cookies. It was just like, I think my family needs to learn that not everyone needs to bring a dessert. That sounds very spoiled of me, but it's just like, okay, there's way too much dessert. I'm just using my E23 to line the no line look here. If that's what makes you uncomfortable, you can always just take a, like I said, a pen and line it out, or a pencil, colored pencil. I'm okay with fine lines. I'm okay if it's a bit chunky. I'm just adding it just to give it a little bit of a gold bow. Okay. Now, I am just going to quickly I have some shimmery watercolor here from an artist that I purchased online. She lives in Ontario, so I like supporting her. She's on Etsy. I'm just going to take a water pen. Do I have enough water in here? Yeah, I do. And I'm just going to go over this, and it's just going to add some gold shimmer. Because I use the Nina paper, I find that it doesn't buckle if I don't add too many layers on top of it. I just use it to add little details, so. Wouldn't want to watercolor the whole image with this, but I'm just adding a little bit of sparkle on top, it's fine. Always just use your Nuvo pens or stickles or something else if you want to add a different type of sparkle on top of your card. Just realized I missed in between her legs there. And because I colored it with the Y26, if I miss spots, it's not as noticeable. I will admit on my card I just painted it all with watercolor without coloring the star first, and I found that it was kind of patchy. So, but hopefully you guys can see if I just tilt this that now I got. It's a little hard to capture, but some gold shimmer on there. It just adds a little prettiness. You can outline the star if you think you've lost some of the star shape. Also, there's some little shiny bits on the star. I can kind of see it through my inking. I'm not going to worry about it tonight, but you can always add those in too. All right. I'm just going to add, I forgot to add just one little thing here. I just want to add a little bit of white gel pen to this part of my stamp. And add little dots in here to make her hat have little dots in it. His outfit I'll add little dots too. I like to repeat things that are on one image and on the other. Yeah, just little dots like that with my white gel pen. All right, so that's done. So now we just have to assemble this part of our card and our little tent piece. So one thing you want to do is I would recommend adding a button or like a coin on the back of your image with some glue. It just helps weigh it down, makes it a little bit easier to swing. And because I think I have the world's unlimited amount of buttons and I don't use them very much, I'm just going to use a button. Good use for pennies if you're Canadian, since we don't use pennies for anything else now. So if you have some pennies hanging around, you can use that instead. But it'll just help weigh it down. Now, before I glue my image to my transparency here, how can I show you guys that better? I'm going to just take my white piece of paper and hopefully you can see the transparency better. Maybe a little bit if I move this into frame too. I can kind of see it. So you'll see this piece is the transparency. I'm just making sure I can see it. Okay, I can. I want to figure out how high I want my image to line up. And like I said, it wasn't very center. So I'm going to probably line it up to the top here. You don't need to have this whole length, so I'm going to take some scissors. And I'm going to cut majority of this off. I just need it laying down a little enough that it touches my image. Basically. Now I'm just going to add glue to the top where my bow is. Please ask questions if you're confused what I'm doing. Sometimes the things make more sense to me but don't necessarily make sense when you're watching me do it. And I'm just adding it to my transparency at the top here. And we're going to have to wait for that to dry for a moment. So I'm just going to push that down. Could have come down a little bit further. That's okay. I'm just holding it because I use liquid glue. I'm just holding it. You may want to use sticky tape instead. But I'm just going to hold it for a moment so it dries. I could probably slide it down a bit. There we go. And the reason why I use transparency too is, like, if I see it, it's not super obvious. Also, I feel like the firmness of this transparency works better than paper for this. Okay, just move my paper out of the way. I was just using that to protect my pattern paper. So you do have to let this dry before you can worry about spinning, like making it move. Taking our W that we made. Sorry, I forgot I'm zoomed in too. Let's see if I can zoom out again. Here, oh, sorry. Come on, computer. Cancel. Come on, phone, please. Pretty sure I just got glue on my phone screen. We have one last thing, and then we're good to go. So I'm just adding glue. I'll just try and do it on screen. To just this side. You can add tape, sticky tape if you want instead. And this side. And then I'm going to make sure my W is facing up. I'll move that out of the way for a second. And I'm lining the bottom of that first fold to the bottom of my card. Base. And then I'm going to take my flap, pull it down, and make sure that's lined up to my flap. And the reason you do this is like I said, I didn't do it on my monkey card, but really they don't need to be looking on the inside of your card for this because the mechanism works better if you have a little bit of dimension going on. You just want to make sure that's working. I should have done that before I glued this down. I might have to play with my brad a little bit because it's still sticking. So it was swinging really good the other day, so I know it works. I just have to play with it a little bit too. Okay, so your side of your base should look like this. You saw that my image just fell to the one side, so. I want to let that dry for a few moments, but when you go to, if you want to send this card to somebody, you can just close this up all together. And you might have a little bit of bulkiness to send through the mail, but it should ship pretty flat if you want to put it in an envelope. And like I said, just play with that a little bit. You might have to adjust your brad a little bit if it is sticking. So that's usually the cause, is it's the brad. But yeah, that makes your swinging mechanism. And it should swing back and forth, back and forth. And once you play with it a bunch, it loosens up too. So you can add a sentiment to this. This stamp set actually didn't have a sentiment with it, but we have so many sentiments that would work with it. Even just a Merry Christmas would work, or if you wanted something to say swinging by, I'm sure we have some stamp sets that say something like that. You totally can. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for everyone who watched me speed along on this. If you do have any questions, like I said, or you're finding it's not working for you, let me know. I can see if I can troubleshoot for you. Just tag me in it. And like I said, the other thing I did on my card was then I took branches of die cuts and added it to the top so it looked like it was swinging from a tree branch. You got the one that swings really good, because I think I did something different with the brad on that one, so I'll have to review what I did for that one. So that one swings really good. But yeah, that makes your card and makes it a swinging card. Like I said, once you play with it a little bit, it should swing better too. So it just goes back and forth. And everyone will play with it, which is what it's made for. And so how I filmed my video for it was I just pulled it to the side and then didn't hit record until it started swinging. It works better like when it's standing upright like this too, of course. Because then it has some room to hang down. Alright. I hope everyone enjoyed this card. I know it's kind of simple on the front, so you could always add some ephemera. Like I said, decoration stickers if you want. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it overall. Might just decorate a bit more and then send it off to Kim. Thanks everyone, and again, hope you had a great Thanksgiving for those who celebrate in Canada, and then for those who don't, hope you had a good Monday. If you're in the US, I know you have your Thanksgiving later than us, so. Thank you, Debbie. Alright, like I said, if you have any questions, just tag me and say #replay on it. Have a good night, everyone.